In this video, we are going to talk about all things fascia. This is the beginner 101 level fascia, so if you're just beginning to understand it, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to cover 6 things. Number 1, what is fascia? Number 2, the meridians and fascia trains. Number 3 is the physical stuckness. Number 4 is the emotional stuckness. 5 is how to release your fascia. There's lots of different ways. We're going to get into that. And number 6 is how the heck this all fits together with yoga, and specifically Yin Yoga being a really great partner. So what in the heck is fascia? If you're here, you might have some context, or maybe you have none at all. Fascia is the system, the web system that lives under your skin. Your fascia should glide seamlessly underneath your skin. And when your fascia is in really good shape, it's easy to move around, you feel light, you recover really quickly. But when it's not, it gets sticky really fast. It sticks to itself. And that's where you start to get sore. You start to get tight in different areas of your body, your hips, your knees, your shoulders. Now, your fascia wraps around all these different parts of your body. It wraps around your bones, it wraps around your muscles, it wraps around your organs, it wraps around your nerves, and it's really complex. It has different sensors that sit in the fascia. We're going to get into that a little bit later. If you think about being human and being something like 80% water, if you've ever had an injury where your skin breaks open, in theory, if we are that much water, the water should just shoot out of us. The reason it doesn't is because the fascia is holding everything together. And actually, because of how fascia is comprised, what it's made of, how it exists in our body. The first 2 things that your fascia is made of is collagen and elastin. Collagen is for strength, elastin is for elasticity. Now, part of the reason why we get sore, why we get tight muscles, tight parts of our body as we get older is because our collagen breaks down. Your fascia is a big compartment of it is the collagen. As your collagen in your body decreases, your fascia will naturally degrade, and there's things that you can do to support that. Bringing more water into your body, being really hydrated. When you're dehydrated, it dehydrates the fascia and it makes it sticks to itself more. The next thing that's in your fascia, and the thing that I love to nerd out on as of lately, is this jelly-like substance. Now, it's water and it's not water all at the same time. From a very technical perspective, I've heard it called H3O2. I've also heard it called groundwater. I've heard it called structured water. I've heard it called organized water. But all of those things, when you look at them, it leads us back to the understanding that that substance in our fascia is kind of like jelly. It's kind of viscous, if you will. And that is what helps our fascia glide over our muscles, helps it to glide over our organ. And your fascia helps transmit electricity through your body. That's where those sensors come in. Your fascia is piezoelectric. Your fascia conducts electricity. And when you have systems in your body that are offline, you can start to get fascia that is stuck together. You can start to hold different things in your body, pain, emotion, stiffness, soreness. You can hold things like adrenaline, cortisol, hormones can get stuck in there, blood can get stuck in this sticky spot, if you imagine like it being compartmentalized around that adhesion. Now, here is where I think it gets the most interesting. Your fascia has tons of different sensors in it. And I'd like to think that everybody's body has a slightly different combination of these different kinds of sensors. The first sensor is a mechanoreceptor. That sensor detects movement and it detects pressure. The second type of sensor is a proprioceptor, which detects body awareness. So think about where you are in space. If somebody's coming up on you from the side, it's almost like you can feel them before you can see them. It's because those sensors are detecting a difference in where you are in time and space, and working hand in hand with the mechanoreceptors, the pressure of the things that you can't see between you and that other person are changing. Those sensors are talking to each other. So those are the first 2 kinds of sensors that you have in your fascia. The third kind of sensor is a sensor that is called an interoceptor. And that one detects your internal state. This is part of why you can feel emotional pain as if it's physical pain. It's why when you get bad news, your gut sinks. The interoceptors are literally feeling the change in your fascia. Now, that sensor talks to the other sensors, talk to your brain, and that's part of what triggers your brain to have this whole cascade of different chemical events, of different impacts on your nervous system. It's why when you have something emotionally that makes your stomach just fall out, that all of a sudden your brain starts to tell your nervous system in your body to breathe more quickly or get ready to run. It triggers your fight or flight, things like that. The fourth type of receptor that you have in your fascia is probably the one that you're the most familiar with, and that's nociceptors. Those are the sensors that feel pain. So, for example, if you're an athlete or you have kids that are athletes and they tear their ACL or something on the football field, the soccer field, you name it, the sensors that are in that area of your body are reading in the fascia, not in the muscle, but in the fascia itself, and sending signals to the muscle. They're sending signals to your blood cells to go in and start to fix the injury. They're sending signals to your brain, right? That's why you get that adrenaline high you come off, and sometimes when you come down off that adrenaline high, things hurt more, right? All of these systems are working hand in hand, and your fascia, which holds the sensors to what's going on, is feeding a continuous loop back and forth between each other and back and forth between your brain to keep you safe, to keep you healthy, and to keep you whole. This is why with all of these sensors, and your body doesn't just move, it feels, it interprets, and it stores things in different areas of your body. All of the sensors that you have in your fascia are the exact reason why your energy flows and your fascia glides. All of these sensors that live in your fascia is why your body doesn't just move, it feels, it's interpreting, and then it stores things for later on, okay? So that's part one. That's the basic of what fascia is. Now, part two. All right, so let's talk about meridians and fascia trains. Probably about 10 years or so ago, I bought this thing called a fascia blaster, and I was really kind of obsessed. And around that same time, or maybe even before that, I had gotten very deep into Bikram yoga, which is a hot yoga. It's a very slow yoga. I started to understand that as I was releasing parts of my body, I would have a tremendous amount of emotions that would come up. And what was interesting was the emotions for me came up the most when I was releasing my abdomen or kind of like in my hip flexor area, which I later came to understand is where many of us hold lots of emotions. So fast forward about 10 years, I got certified to teach yoga and Yin Yoga. And in Yin Yoga, the premise is that you have 12 energy meridians in your body. And you do Yin in order to restore flow in these channels. There are some of the same channels that when you get acupuncture, acupressure, those acupuncture points exist along the meridians. I had gotten acupuncture before, and it was so interesting to me. So I just dove headfirst right into what are the meridians? How do they work? Why do they work? What do they do? It occurred to me that the meridians were interconnected with the fascia. And the more I dove deeper into that study, the more that became so inherently true. I had a theory that the meridians lined up maybe with fascial seams. And that's how that was the science behind, what the Chinese have known for 2,000 years. So there is a gentleman, his name is Thomas Myers, who's kind of like the foremost expert on fascia. And he has a book called Fascia Trains, and it gets like way deep into the science, far deeper than any science I've ever done in college and what have you. But what was interesting to me was I had this working theory that these 12 meridians maybe were 12 fascial seams. And what I found is that there are some that marry up almost exactly, and some are close. And it's not a 1-for-1, but it is really close. For example, superficial back line is your bladder meridian in Chinese medicine. Your superficial front line is your stomach meridian. Your lateral line is your gallbladder meridian. So I think what's really interesting here is you have these two methodologies kind of marrying up. What the East is maybe known or used for a very long time to help hundreds, thousands, millions of people versus what the West is now starting to ramp up their science on and start to understand. And so there's a lot of overlap. This is where the experiment for you comes in. For me, this has been an experiment long time coming because there's things that I felt in my body, in my intuition, that Western science and Western medicine couldn't confirm. It almost would try to disprove, but now the science is catching up. So what I believe is that the meridians and the fascia trains bridge the science with the energy, where Chinese medicine talks about the flow of qi, which is your energetic flow. I think of it like circulation, like your life force. In yoga, we talk about prana being your life force. It's associated with your breath. So regardless of what the vocabulary is that you choose to use or that you look to first, just know that both of these systems really support and complement each other. And it's a rabbit hole that you can dive just as deep into as you want to. The bottom line is where energy flows, fascia glides. And where it doesn't, it gets stuck. So there's really two different kinds of stuckness. There's the physical stuckness and there's the emotional stuckness. The one that people know the most is probably the physical stuckness. Because if your knee locks up, your hip locks up, you feel tightness in any part of your body, you feel it. It's something that we've been trained to kind of notice because something could be wrong, right? Indeed, something probably is wrong. If you're doing a full body scan and you're trying to figure out where you may have disruptions in your meridians, or you might have fascia that is entangled or has what they call adhesions, then the things that you're going to look for is places where you lack mobility. It's places in your body where you might have swelling. You might have even had official diagnosis, something like plantar fasciitis, which is like the bottom of your foot is locked up. Literally the fascia on your plantar, on your foot, is adhesed, or I don't know if that's a real word, it's stuck. Okay, so rolling your foot on a lacrosse ball or a myo-release ball can help to break that up and relieve your plantar fasciitis. Other things that you might feel are the feeling of stiffness or pulling. I can tell you I had a disruption in my arm, and I'd wake up in the morning and my finger would kind of, I don't know if you can see this, it would kind of be locked where it felt like there was a string that was just pulling really, really tight. But as I traced that up my arm, I could figure out exactly where the hot spot was. And there was a little bit in my arm, but ultimately it was connected deeper into my chest. And so once I started to release those, there's another one I can feel it. Those little spots under my collarbone, all of a sudden I got the mobility back in my finger that had been locked up for a little while. So that's some of what the physical feels like. Now, there's a whole handful of reasons why physically you get stuck. The first thing that is the most important thing to know is your fascia has this water substance in it, H3O2. It's like this jelly, but it also acts kind of like a crystal, if you will. The easiest way to think about it is like a sponge. The sponge has holes, but then it's got like connection points to other parts of the other holes of the sponge, right? You get a brand new sponge. The sponge is dry as a bone. When you go to add water to that sponge, you don't just let the water run and then eventually the sponge is squishy again, right? What you do is you let the water run, you squish, 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 you let the water run, squish, 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 and then all of a sudden you have a sponge that's soft again. Your fascia is kind of like that, and that's why we do these different release exercises to release the fascia. But it's like a pressure and a release so that the blood flow can get back in, a pressure and a release. This is why these long holds, when you release them, it's almost like a bigger rush of that fluid back into your fascia. Hydration. If you are dehydrated or if your fascia is hydrated, it gets really, really, really sticky and it's harder to get pulled apart. So hydration is the first and foremost thing that is important to know. The other thing that I've noticed from a physical perspective is that there's this moment where our posture isn't maybe how it was intended to be. That's a really nerded out way to say, if you're sitting like this, or you're just hunched over your phone, and you do that day in and day out and day in and day out, your body starts to adapt to that way of being. And so you have places on your body that are overstretched and you have places on your body that are compressed. Now the sensors that you have in that area are saying pain, 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 too much pressure. Over time, they keep sending those same signals, and now all of a sudden your body's compensating. So I like to sit cross-legged a lot. Oftentimes I'll sit with my right foot tucked up underneath me. That means that my left side is not equal and they're compensating for each other. So I actually do more fascial release on my right side and in my right hip than I even do on my left side in order to balance those two back out. If you look at the meridians, which I can put in the comments below for you, what you can see is that the meridians don't just exist in one place. So for example, the one that starts in your finger runs up your finger, it goes all the way up your arm, and then it keeps going into your chest. So then what happens is pain in your finger isn't because of a problem in your finger. That's just the end of the story. The pain is actually because the tightness is somewhere closer to your collarbone. And you have things like this all over your body. If you've ever had a massage and you tell the masseuse that you are sore in one area of your body and they start working on another area of your body, that's why. It's because all of these things are connected, which is the most basic way of saying that one area of your body has impacts on a completely different area of your body. So this is like level 1 of like the physical stuckness. Now let's talk about emotional stuckness. You may have experienced this before in your life without even realizing it. Emotions hit in different places in your body. You might feel grief in your chest. You might feel uncertainty or worry in your gut. You might feel pressure or responsibility on your shoulders, literally like you're carrying the world on your shoulders. When you have these emotions that show up in your life, especially when they're emotionally charged, when you have more traumatic situations, what happens is we never fully process those emotions and they leave behind this kind of like energetic residue. And so then your fascia, as brilliant as it is, holds the memory. It's like the record keeper of all of the things. So imagine that you have been the breadwinner of your family for a really long time and you've been carrying the stress of being the financial provider. You're literally carrying that on your shoulders. You might find that the fascia in your shoulders is really extra tight. It might have been tight for so long that it sends it to somewhere else in your body, that it sends it deeper into your chest, that it sends it down your sideline, that it sends it down your arms. You might find that you have been living in fight or flight and your nervous system has been really dysregulated for a while. And so you have a lot of tightness in your hips, tightness in your psoas, tightness that travels into your IT band. I can feel one right over here on the side of my hip. I have some work to do after we record today. But so you store these emotions in your body, and certain areas of your body actually hold different emotions. It's not to say any one area of your body always holds a very specific emotion, but there are some common areas where things get held. Now, with the meridians have a coordinated system, right? Each of the meridians is kind of governed by or responsible for different types of emotions on a very particular spectrum. We can get into that in a different video. But what emotional stuckness feels like is you can't breathe. It feels like you're edgy all the time. It feels like you can never get like a full, deep breath that goes all the way into your diaphragm. That's what the feeling of emotional stuckness feels like. It might even feel like you're uneasy in your stomach. There's lots of different ways that can show up. I find a lot of times when people are drawn to somatic practices, it's actually because their nervous system is dysregulated, but they have underlying things that are going on in their fascia that just have not been resolved. So it's not a this or that. It's a conversation about both things in tandem. The thing that is probably the most difficult about emotional stuckness is that you can't deeper stretch your way into allowing your fascia to release or forcing your fascia to release. It's really not that you need a deeper stretch. It is that your whole system has to feel safe and calm enough for your fascia to release. That's emotional stuckness. So then let's talk about how the heck do we even begin to release our fascia? Okay, now this may be the whole reason that you came here. If you're looking for how to release your fascia, you can jump right ahead to this part. You may or may not be able to see it. I've got all kinds of little things here that I'm going to show you that I use for different reasons, for different parts of the body. And we're going to start with the foam roller. This is probably the most well-known. Now we have this little short foam roller that has these little bumpies on it. I'm going to link all of this below for you. So if there's anything that is of interest to you, you can go check it out. You can use this for all kinds of different areas of your body. I'll do demonstrations in later videos. You can use this to roll out your hips, your legs. You can use it to roll out your lats. When you are really serious about releasing your fascia, I find that rolling is okay. Longer 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute holds on these things is even more beneficial. And the reason is because the goal when you are trying to get your fascia to release is not actually to engage your muscles. Our muscles are so used to just taking over that they still try to do it. So when you are sitting in a 30-second hold or a 1 minute hold, you might get fidgety, your mind might wander, but at some point you can actually feel your muscles go. And that's when the real work is happening in your fascia. So that's how I like to use the foam roller. You can use one like this. There's another one I'll link for you that's just straight foam. It's flatter, which might be better for you if you're just starting out. Okay, we're going to go from order of magnitude here. The next thing that I use that I absolutely love, I don't know if you can see this thing. It looks like a Peapod. Inside, there are a handful of different fascia release balls that are in all different sizes and a little bit different densities as well. The reason why you might have different sizes is I might use this ball, the biggest one, up against a door jamb on my shoulder, right? You can kind of feel into where there's a spot right there. You can see what I'm doing right now. You can use this just like this to roll around and hold. If you need more pressure, you can lean into a door jamb. But you've got different sizes here because I wouldn't necessarily use the biggest ball on my hand. You have a lot of tension in your hands. If you're holding your cell phone all day long the same way, your hand is used to being stuck in a certain way. You have meridians that run from the tips of your finger up the side of your arm or under the white meat part of your arm. And so using the smaller ball out of the Peapod, you can actually start to roll some of those adhesions out. I can feel right there, there's one that's stuck. Now, the interesting thing about fascia is that when you've foam rolled in the past, you might have thought, hey, you're foam rolling your muscles, and that's true. But when you're doing fascial release, the fascia also encompasses the bones as well. So you might roll over a bone, and that's where you feel the tension, or that's where you feel the stuckness. And as you start to experiment, you'll notice where there's a little bit of a hot spot versus where there's nothing there. Where there's nothing there, it just feels clean and clear. Where there's an actual stuck part, it almost feels like there's a little bit of a crunchiness there just underneath the surface. So this little Peapod, I love this. I take this all over the place with me. It goes on road trips. It's so convenient that I got my son one. I got two of his friends now have these. They play football. So being able to have these different size fascia balls and use them when they're just hanging out in class or right on the football field and have a little carrying case has been super, super convenient. Okay, the next thing I have is this set that I got from Amazon. Now, this one is like a little bit more because it does a lot of different things. So this set came with, there's at least one missing. Again, different size balls. These ones are just a little bit squishier than the ones that come in the Peapod. But what I like about this little system is that, one, you can contain the little balls in it and they don't fall out. Two, there's different sizes and different densities. This little black one is even smaller than the one that's in the Peapod. But what's also cool about this system is that you can use this foam block like a yoga block, which we use a lot in Yin Yoga to open up the shoulders, the hips, to prop yourself up in different poses. And there's even a spot here where, for example, if you're trying to release the occipitals, those little chunky things at the base of your skull, you can put these balls right here and then set your head on them and it sits just right. So you can actually use this ball to support how you are this block to support how you're putting pressure. You could even have it right in these little pockets that they're in right now. And that's where you're leaning your arm over or you're leaning your shoulder over. So I like this block a lot. If you're on a limited budget, I probably wouldn't start with this one. I might actually start with the Peapods. Now, these Cork ones, again, slightly different density. Here's a funny thing. Where your meridians are, the Chinese meridians, you have a handful that run up and over across your skull. And I hold tension in my scalp. But, my hair isn't long. Using these little silicone balls in my hair, it'll pull. I got these Cork ones. And so you can use those in your hair, on your head. Man, that feels so good. You can use these on your head without having your hair just get pulled out every which way. So I like these little Cork ones for that. This one's shaped like Mr. Peanut. So that one's cool because it rolls in a different way and it's almost like you can hit two different places both at the same time. Okay, so those are your different fascia release balls. Now, the next thing is this, and this is not a sponsored post. These are fascia blasters, but from Ashley Black. I have had these two for, I don't even know, probably close to 10 years. I love these things. She makes a ton of different sizes. These are starting to target deeper layers of your fascia. Okay, so this is very important to know. I find this one generates the most blood flow, and this one gets a little bit deeper. You can see the claws. And then on either end, you have these 2 points. So you can, when you find a hot spot, you kind of poke and wiggle it around. The thing with these two tools is, one, they're definitely more expensive than any of your other regular tools. And two, you're best suited to use these either in the shower or in a place where you can put some oil on your skin because, for example, actually I can show you on my arm. If I'm using one of these on my arm, I'm going to literally rub this back and forth quickly, but if it's dry, you're dragging your skin, it's not as effective, it doesn't feel very good. So with the oil, you can glide a bit more easily. I do this with body wash in the shower, and that seems to work just fine for me. So these are fascia blasters. Now, the next thing that I've got here, I just found recently, and I really like a lot. You may have heard of cupping therapy. If you've ever been to a massage therapist, a lot of them will offer cupping therapy. And what happens with the cupping therapy is there's a hard plastic cup that goes on your skin. There's a little valve at the top of the cup, and there's this pressure gun. I should have brought this. I have this upstairs. But anyway, those cups are a little bit more difficult to use. I find they're more difficult to use on yourself than these handy dandy little things that I got that are made out of silicone. So the way that they work is you can see there's a little bubble right here, right? So you almost lift one corner and you push the bubble in, and then we'll do it with a smaller one. So you can see it just sticks. So if you can see that now, I wouldn't just randomly stick this on my arm. What I would do is as I'm using the lacrosse ball, or maybe even as I'm doing the fascia blaster in the shower, if I find a place that's really stuck, really tight, then I would go ahead and just put that cup over that spot while I'm working on other areas. This is going to help with drainage with your lymph. It's also, as you can imagine, pulling the layers of the fascia apart from the suction. And as it's doing that, you've got blood flow and everything rushing in there to try to rehydrate that area of your fascia. This little set is pretty great because it nests right in on itself, and you can travel with these things really easily. They clean up really well with soap and water. So I usually use these in the shower as well, but you could use them not in the shower as long as you have some kind of oil or something on your skin. Now, I have used these cups in the same way that I use the fascia blaster, which is to say, if you've put it on your skin, and of course, if I had oil on my skin, I could show you, but you're almost like scrubbing your skin in the same way that you would use the fascia blaster back and forth like this. You control the pressure of these cups. So when you put it on, if it feels like too much, you might have to just lift the side of it and let some of that suction out. But these are really great. I wouldn't call these like fascial release 101. I'd probably start somewhere over here with some of these tools instead. Okay. Something I found recently is this little pen. It's like a little metal piece. On one side, it's got a little smaller point, and on the other side, it's got a harder point. For places where you've got tenderness, This I usually just keep in my purse or in the car, but you can poke and wiggle and you can find it a little adhesion, and it's almost like you're spreading it apart. This side is a little bit more blunt. I also use this on my head. Oh, it feels so good around your ears. I don't know if you hold tension around your ears like I do, but man, it feels so glorious. So you can just press and hold for a couple seconds. You can use the non-blunt end. Just press and hold. You can roll this little guy around, or you can wiggle it around as well. But I'll link this in the list that I have in the comments for you as well. Okay, so this is some of the tools. Now, if you've seen any of the yoga videos on soul-led yoga, you've probably seen this guy. She's one of my best gal pals. This is a bolster. Now you can use a bolster. It's a little bit more firm than a regular pillow. If you don't have one of these, you can use a stack of really firm pillows. You'll see this show up a lot in the Yin Yoga videos or morning stretching, morning yin, because when you're doing really deep fascia release, a lot of these things, this can get to the surface. This can get to the surface. These can get to the surface. If you're getting into layer 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your fascia, and even some places where you have like deep in your hips and in your abdomen, the fascia runs really deep. As you start to release the top layers, it takes something a little bit different to get to the deeper layers. That's where yin comes in. That's where these longer holds come in. And this is probably a good time to transition to the last part that I have for you today. We're going to transition to talking about yin. Previously, you've probably seen on this exact channel more vinyasa-based flows. Now, while I am a big proponent of yin, I don't think that it has to be yin or vinyasa. I actually think that there's space for both. Vinyasa is a more masculine flow, if you will. It's a more yang flow. It's targeting muscles. It's targeting movement. Yin is the partner to that. Yin is the female side of the energy, and both things have to exist in balance. We have spent so many years focused on fitness and our muscles, and almost no years focused on our fascia, which supports our muscles, which talks to our muscles, which talks to our brains, which holds the sensors, which holds the emotions. There's time and a space for both. Here's what yin looks like. Yin yoga looks like, and if you're type A, this might drive you nuts, long holds where it feels like you're doing nothing. You are going to hold a yin pose or posture anywhere from 30 seconds, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes if you've been doing yin for a really long time. The reason why it's so important to hold these postures for a longer period of time is, one, it takes a beat for your mind to tell your muscles to relax. It takes a second for your muscles to get that signal from your brain to, hey, chill out. It's only when your muscles release that you're getting deep into the fascial layers. The other thing is, when you're in those long poses, I can guarantee with almost infinite certainty that you spend at least some part of your day rushing. If you work a corporate job, if you have any job, if you have kids, if you have a lot of things going on in your life, you're moving from point A to point B to point C, and you got to do this, you got to do that, the to-do list, which makes your nervous system just vibrate. In yin, the point is to create time and space for your nervous system to relax. Because at the end of the day, you cannot force your fascia into submission. I like to use the term Kool-Aid man. You can't run through the wall to fix your fascia. That's just going to make it worse. You have to allow your body time and space to relax. So that is exactly what yin is about. When your nervous system is relaxed and your body starts to relax, your fascia can start to release. What is something that I absolutely wish people would have told me is that on the nerdiest level, those interoceptors are coming back online. At a more soul-led level, those emotions that you have been holding in your body, holding in your chest, holding in your gut and your intuition, holding in your hips, the fear that you've been holding since you were 6 years old, when that fascia starts to release and those interoceptors come back online, you may feel those emotions again as if you were there. You may feel these emotions just come up and you don't know why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's because all those times that you told your body, not yet, not now, The times you didn't process the emotion, you just compartmentalize those emotions, those boxes get opened back up. And it's through all of the breath in yin that you're able to finally exhale all of the things that you never did. Okay, this is a lot, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I've been wanting to record this for a long time. I'm excited for you. I would love to know in the comments, what are the pieces of today that you want to know more about? Where are the areas that you'd like to go deeper? Where are you finding the spots in your own body where you found that it's tight or you've got gravel, or if this video is helpful for you? And with that, I will tell you, and with that, please do not take my word for any of this. This is your journey. We all hold different things in our bodies